Alice Stewart Show is on the air and on your radio right now. Here's more from Alice on 96.5 The Voice.
Let freedom ring.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:46 on a fine Tuesday morning. And we're taking time this week to visit with some of the candidates who will be participating in the Arkansas Federation for Young Republican debate series that will be held this Saturday at the Clarion Hotel in Little Rock. We'll be broadcasting it live here on 96.5. Also, you can listen online at 965 The Voice. Debates start at 9 o'clock and will last until about 1 o'clock, 1:30. And you can see the candidates, Republican candidates for governor, those in the 2nd and 4th Congressional District, as well as the Attorney General's race. And joining me now live here in studio is Curtis Coleman. He is the Republican gubernatorial candidate. Curtis, great to have you here.
Hey, good to be in the studio with you, Alice, and good to see you again.
You too. We're going to talk about many issues on Saturday. I'm on the panel, and I will be asking a few questions. I'll make some good ones up for you, but it's only appropriate.
And you can.
Only appropriate on today, tax day, income tax day, that start off with talking about taxes in the governor's office. And certainly the governor, any governor, is focused on jobs and the economy. You and your opponent, you're running against Asa Hutchinson. You have both rolled out tax plans.
Yes.
And the key components of yours, there's different tax brackets. You've compiled them.
Well, we attempted to simplify the tax plan a little bit, the tax brackets, and try to collapse them down. We wanted to get it to 4. In the process of trying to do that, we had a charting error, and in the process of working out a spreadsheet, and we had to go back to 5 to get it corrected. So we have 5 tax brackets. But the important thing is that every Arkansan under my tax plan, assuming I am allowed to be governor for 8 years, and I understand that assumption, so let me be clear that I'm not trying to be presumptuous, but it would give every Arkansan a tax break for 8 consecutive years. The intent is by the end of my administration, I want your state income taxes to be at least 20% less than they were when I started. And what I've done in my tax plan and my overall economic development plan is, instead of telling you what I'm going to do first, I'm trying to tell you what I want Arkansas to look like at the end of the administration. In other words, what are our goals? Where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish? And one of those is to reduce the cost of burden for every taxpayer in Arkansas, the cost of government for every taxpayer in Arkansas.
And one of the key components, as you say, adjusting the tax brackets, but you also made a point to mention that doesn't mean you have to cut funding for education, which is another key.
Yeah, I was questioned about that, and I continue to be questioned about that, because what I proposed is that we begin our budgeting process with the process of cutting taxes every year. Let's start there. Let's assume we're going to cut the taxes every year, and then let's budget from there. But there's nothing in my tax proposal, absolutely nothing in my tax plan that requires a cut in education funding. And if anybody would take the time to look at it and read it before they criticize it, they can see that easily. But it just says, the point is, Alice, if we don't make a commitment to cutting your taxes, we're not going to do it.
Absolutely. And this is clearly a central issue for all of the candidates running for governor. Your Republican opponent, Asa Hutchinson, as well as Mike Ross, have also come out with tax plans, and they're all competing. They're all different in some ways, gradually cutting Arkansas's individual income taxes. How does yours differ from your Republican opponent and certainly that of Mike Ross? Well,
I'm glad you asked that. There are a couple of big differences. One, in Mr. Ross's tax plan, he says basically maybe we'll do it. If we can, we might do it. My plan says we are going to do it. But the big difference between mine and my opponent's tax plan is that the other half of my tax plan is a very specific and very goal-oriented and very aggressive economic development plan for Arkansas. I'm not just saying let's cut the cost of government for every Arkansan. I'm saying the other side of the coin, the other side of the story is let's create an economic revival in Arkansas, and we do that primarily by creating what I call a small business magnet in Arkansas. We know, Alice, you know, that 60 to 70% of all new jobs in America and in Arkansas are created by small business.
Right.
We don't have a pro-small business economy of Arkansas. We have the highest corporate tax rate of any state with which we share a border. We have the highest capital gains tax rate with any state with which we share a border. We're the only state with which we share a border that taxes pensions on military retirees and survivor benefits. All of those depress small business in Arkansas. So let's not just cut taxes. Let's create and revive the economy of Arkansas, which is small business, and let's create the kind of regulatory and tax environment that makes small business want to start up. I call it arrive and thrive in Arkansas.
And also, when we see often, we've seen it over the past several years, incentives to get businesses here, and they come here, and all the state officials get out there and cut the ribbon and get their picture taken. And then a few years later, when the business closes and leaves town,
you don't see any officials out there.
No, you don't.
Right.
Where are they?
Well, that's the point. In fact, what we've been doing in Arkansas is we've been trying to recruit one super project once every generation. What I'm proposing is let's start up 150, 200 new businesses every year. Small businesses, that'll do two things. It diversifies the economy of Arkansas, which insulates the economy from the very kind of things that you just mentioned. Let's do that. And then secondly, let's not load up let's not load up government on a new business until they're making money. So my tax plan says no corporate taxes for any small business with a net taxable income of less than $1 million a year. Let's let these small businesses get started, get going, make a profit, make money before we start loading them up with the cost of government.
So all those officials that are there at the ribbon cutting can also be there at the 5-year anniversary of the business and the 10 and the 15
That's
and the 20.
That's the plan. That is the plan.
What a concept.
And I want to do that.
What an idea. Also, you mentioned big government, and the federal government is clearly on a lot of folks' minds with Obamacare. As governor, as you've been campaigning for governor and talking with folks, even though they understand the governor runs the state and oversees the state, folks still are concerned about federal government overreach. Do you see that?
I see that. In fact, I will tell you, I would say, Alice, that as I travel around the state, which I've been doing now for a couple of years, that I get more questions and I hear more concern about what Arkansas' view is an out-of-control federal government. I think Arkansans in general are more concerned about the federal government than they are state government. Not to say they're not concerned about state government, because they are, but they're really concerned about an encroaching, invasive federal government. The fact is that the Constitution gives the states the authority, and therefore they have the responsibility to be the first line of defense against an overreaching federal government for their citizens. That's one of the convictions I have. One of the reasons I'm running for governor is because I believe we've got to recover the intended balance of power between the federal government and the states. We got to get back to the understanding that the states created the federal government, not the federal government creating the states. And I think it's going to take some principled, courageous governors and who have that kind of conviction and that kind of commitment working together. And we've already started working on building a coalition of like-minded governors, and I think we can become an irresistible political and legal force. And Alice, I think from the states, and it's going to come from the states, I think from the states we can start pushing this out-of-control federal government back into the constraints of the Constitution.
And one last one. We've got a little over a minute left. We've got about a month to go before the primary. Certainly, Ace Hutchinson has a little more money in the bank, doing a little better in the polls. How do you move forward with facing that?
Well, that's a good question, and of course my big battle was name ID, because I tell people all the time I've never been in office and never been in prison. So, somebody said run for governor of Illinois, you can do both at the same time.
That's more than a lot of governors can say.
Right, that's true. But we've built the largest political grassroots organization of any campaign for any office in Arkansas, and they are now starting to hit on all 8 cylinders, and you're going to see them come to the surface.
All right, we look forward to talking to you Saturday at the Young Republican debate. Want more information, you can go to curtiscoleman.com and find out more about what he stands for and where you can find him out campaigning around the state. Curtis, thank you.
Thanks, Alice. Love being here.
I appreciate you. We're going to wrap it up for this edition of the Alice Stewart Show. Once again, that Young Republican debate this Saturday at 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for tuning in. More candidates throughout the week. Make sure you listen right here at 96.5. Go out and have a great day. We'll talk tomorrow. Glenn Beck is on deck.
Of the red, white, and blue. Of the red, white, and blue. Brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
The Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.